Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
No.
Y'all,
Just
this
stop.
is a sham.
It's finally here. Drum roll.
Welcome to DBL. Happy Thursday, everybody. Like I said, I was going to start every show. If 10 seconds earlier we would have started the show, you guys would have been laughing already.
Yeah. We're not going to repeat.
We're not going to get that.
It's a serious story, so we're going to get into it, but yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
One day maybe that's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
If Jeff produces, kind of along the veins you guys were talking about in a small way.
That'd be interesting.
Ask us when you see us on the street. All right, so let's get to this. Madonna is recovering after a health scare. So she spent several days in the ICU with a serious bacterial infection. She was reportedly found unresponsive and had to be intubated on Saturday. So Madonna, who is 64 years old, had been preparing for her upcoming Celebrations World Tour that was set to kick off next month, but now that's been put on hold, of course. Her longtime manager said, quote, her health is improving. However, she is still under medical care. A full recovery is expected, which is great news, but that's pretty scary when you're on a ventilator.
When you're on a ventilator, when you're in the ICU, those are grave circumstances. You know, I know that enough to watch everything that went down with my brother-in-law, who did lose his life to COVID. And I'm just so relieved to hear that she is expected to make a full recovery. So thoughts and prayers go out to her. I know that a lot of people are saying maybe she shouldn't be doing a world tour, maybe she was exhausted, which, you know, if your immune system is not at full speed and protecting your body, you can pick up any sort of bacterial infection a lot easier. I mean, you know more than anybody with your medical school background, but do you think that she should have backed off a little bit?
Look, I can't tell anybody how to run their life. I think I basically sat there and watched my dad work himself to death. But he's from a generation where that's what you did. You were your job. You were a postman or a teacher until you literally could not go anymore. And I think Madonna is, the face of really a generation. She might feel an obligation to continue to keep going, but your body, your biological system doesn't know that you're an icon. All it knows is that it's a 64-year-old system that's been around the world, had a lot of late nights. It looks like there's some surgeries going on. There is no shade. That is just things penetrating your body. Anything that does that, you're open to things like sepsis, open to things like infection, MRSA, things that are very difficult. And when you're 64, not 18 or 16 or 12, when you break your arm and you're better by the end of the summer, things don't really get better quickly at this age. So it's very difficult. I'm not telling her how to run her life. I'm just saying at this age, it's tough for anybody.
Yeah, first of all, it's hard to believe that Madonna is only 6 years younger than my mom. I've never thought of Madonna, that as a mother, in that way, like I think about my mom. But it is true, and I think a part of it when I think about my mother is she retired years ago, and she's still working, not as much as she was the first year or two that she retired. But I was like, I need you to kind of retire so you can model to me what that looks like.
But what if she doesn't know?
Yeah, well, she doesn't know because she's still traveling across the country in order to help school systems be more equitable, which is great.
Amazing.
But I'm like, Mom, you're 70 and you're going all the time. But I also think there is this thing, especially in a Madonna situation or my mother, who is a rock star in her field, where it's I'm just going to do this one last thing, just this one last thing. And in snowboarding or skiing, they say never say it's the last run because it's kind of a curse of something could happen if you're saying, I'm just going to go down one more time. So that's what I thought about. Essentially, this was her last run that she was announcing, and this happened. So I do believe she's going to recover. I do believe she is going to do the tour. And I hope that her team and the people who love her are really supporting her efforts, but in a way that she's an advocate for herself.
Yeah. Look at Bieber. I mean, he's in his 20s, and he got that palsy just from overwork, and he had to stop his tour. Right. And that's in his 20s.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's something to be said about overwork, and I think you got to find that balance as you get older. All right, so Kim Cattrall is breaking her silence on her return to the new Sex and the City franchise. While on The View, Kim reveals why she agreed to make her cameo. Let's watch.
Well, it's very interesting to get a call from the head of HBO saying, what can we do? And I went, let me get creative. And one of those things was to get Pat Field back.
Oh,
because
great.
I just thought, if I'm going to come back, I got to come back with that kind of Samantha style.
Yes.
I got to push it.
Yes.
And we did.
So Pat Field, if you didn't know, is Kim's longtime friend. She also dressed all the Sex and the City ladies for the series and both movies. But does this mean we could see more of Kim's character Samantha Jones in the future episodes? Here's what Kim told the Today Show. Let's watch.
So it felt like dipping my toe, back in time and having a wonderful afternoon and then a great martini.
Now, with the martini, we're all in. Did it make you want to dip your toe even farther in? Like,
That's as far as I'm going to go.
that's as far as you Did it make you say goodbye to Samantha or no?
I don't think I'll ever say goodbye to Samantha. She's like a lot of other characters that I've done over the years. I get very emotionally attached and protective of my characters.
So there's a lot to cover on here. The head of HBO is actually the one who asked Kim Cattrall back, which I think is a brilliant move. But there's also something to be said about toxicity on different sets, which they kind of figured out by having her film by herself. So I think we might see more of her if they could keep this type of program going.
Yeah, they needed something, and Samantha was the missing link. Even though we haven't seen it yet, and it's going to be a very small part, but when the head of HBO calls you, that tells you how much pull you have, and I think that literally, started the juices flowing of okay, you hold out long enough, if you're of a certain value, then people are going to respond to that to let you know how valuable you are. On one hand, great for her. On another hand, does that mean that coming back would be the best thing for the ensemble? I don't know that to be the truth.
You got to consider all of it, but I do love that she had Patricia Field, Pat Field. Patricia Field literally is the other character in Sex and the City. You think about the fashion, and I was a huge Patricia Field fan back in the day, and I didn't have money, and I would save up my money to get, and she was never really expensive. She was probably in the boat of Guess and BB, you remember? But even then, I couldn't afford a $75 purse. So for me, I would save up my money to get something from Patricia Field because she's so unique. And so I love that she had her friends back. And not to say that SJP didn't want maybe Patricia Field involved again as the wardrobe stylist, but I love that she had Patricia Field's back because Sex and the City, I have to say, would not be Sex and the City without those fashion choices that we all loved. It really is another cast member.
Do you get the feeling that the head, and obviously this is speculation, that the head of HBO called her and said, without you coming back, this is going to end? Like it needed that kind of pop? Because it seems like, for as much anticipation there was for this coming back, Samantha is that catalyst that kind of stirs the reaction of the rest of the characters. And I would just say to her, I understand you not wanting to come back, but if you want to come back later, there might not be anything to come back to.
Well, I'm going to answer the question and speculate no. The head of HBO did not say that it's going to end without you coming back, because that would be a terrible way to walk into a negotiating table. He wanted something.
Called, so clearly she's got some leverage already.
Yes, he wanted something, and he asked her what it would cost. I don't think it was it's not going to happen without you type thing.
Do you think it was a little bit of a dig, and this is just me speculating, that it wasn't, or people are going to read it as a dig, that it wasn't SJP and her working it out to get her there? It was the head of HBO having to pull her in?
I don't think it's a dig. I think that when you can't, that would be like you and I, having a negotiation, and then it would go to Bert, and then it would go to the next person, because we're not able to communicate. I just think that's just how the power structure goes.
I hope other people see it that way. I think this is going to be some fuel for the fire, let me tell you.
Speaking of stylists, shout out to my stylist, TJ. TJ Maxx, for all those years of the support. We'll be right back.
Were you sitting on that?
Yeah.
DBL, this show is amazing.
There's a lot going on down here.
I would have been part of the Mile High Club.
Yeah.
So on point.
But I'm going to have a conversation about what's happening now.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
Cindy, you got questions?
No, I'm just genuinely interested on the even though.
Think
Go
about,
ahead, yeah.
Well, I was going to answer it, but we were out of time. But I think it's a genius move by the head of HBO, right? You have to think about the fan base in instance, right? They want to see her back because she's been gone so long. Everyone's like, what if? And the longer you don't give somebody something, the more they want it, or at least that's me, right? So I think he had to make a move at some point, but there is, like I said, toxicity, and you're like, we won't get all the girls together. Whatever the problem is, we really might not know, but let's film her on her own. Nobody has to be involved. No one's going to worry about her or come to set angry or upset. film her on her own, give the fans what they want, and we're also getting what we want in return. I think it's a beautiful move or a smart move, I should say, on his part, but I don't know how the other 3 girls are feeling.
See, that's the key. So my former co-host at, I did a morning radio show in Chicago. It wasn't syndicated. It was just a local show, but wildly popular and generated a lot of money. And my 2 co-hosts were kind of like at a standstill with contract negotiations.
Every time you mention that, I just laugh.
Yeah, because
like,
Jeff
I grew up like
listening
so I just
to this show
the
as well.
sound goes in my head, sorry.
So essentially what happened was they couldn't figure it out internally, so it was a CBS-owned station. Les Moonves flew them to New York and said, what's the problem? And so that's when they got like an over $20 million deal, because there wasn't a communication structure, there wasn't a way to come to terms in-house, so it went all the way up. And that was like unheard of for a local radio station that wasn't even like heard in other markets. But that's the power when you're bringing in that type of money and pull.
Welcome back, and welcome back, Rob. Beautifully done.
Great job.
Vanna White is reportedly trying to negotiate a bigger paycheck. So according to TMZ, Vanna won't continue on Wheel of Fortune unless she makes at least half of what Pat Sajak's salary was. So get this, TMZ says Vanna makes about $3 million a year. That's good living, right? But hasn't had a pay increase in 18 years. Meantime, Pat reportedly makes $15 million a year. So as we mentioned before, Ryan Seacrest will take over for Pat Sajak later next year. But what do we think about Vanna White? Do you think she needs to stick around when Ryan Seacrest takes over, so there's some sort of comfortability factor involved?
That's what I was thinking. It's an interesting. She definitely has a right to ask for and demand more money. That's ridiculous. My issue is like the time that she's bringing up her contract negotiations, because I feel like her contract negotiation power is weakest now when they're bringing somebody else in, because they may want to completely reboot what they're doing. I honestly think the last contract, when Pat was getting his money, she should have been like, this is ridiculous, don't make me make this a thing. They now can say, we're bringing in Ryan and we're going to find the next Vanna. You know, I'm not saying that's what they should do. I'm just saying that's the power that they have now, where I don't think they could have done that on the last contract.
Historically speaking, I'm going to say that she has a better, more negotiating power this time around.
I agree.
Because had she pulled that when Pat Sajak was doing his deal, assuming that they did together, we don't know, then she would have been the person to go and he would have been the bridge. Now she's the bridge. People are looking for consistency in their comfort programming, and she's saying, yes, you're going to usher in this new person in Ryan Seacrest, but I'm going to be the mainstay to bridge the gap. And likely that'll also include a timeline of when she'll go and someone else will gradually take her spot.
What do you think about quickly just this, like at the negotiating table? Ryan, you're going to make $11 million, okay? Vanna's been here forever. She's a staple. We got to give her what she wants. This show's only going to go so long. So you're going to make 11, Vanna's going to make 7, and let's do this.
I think that would be amazing.
Right?
I think if he's a team player, he would absolutely be open to that. But the show makes enough money where they can pay them both adequately. But I think that part. It shouldn't have to come from any one of their salaries. They both should be paid adequately. But I do agree with you that we need a bridge right now. We want to hang on to some sort of consistency. That is Vanna. Eventually, when people get used to Ryan as the host of Wheel of Fortune, they can maybe usher in a new Vanna, but not right now. We need Vanna.
I don't know about that.
Well, can we talk about how this is the best show, like between Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy? They have one of the lowest payouts, yet they've been on the longest time. Where is the money? You talk about the Girl Scout cookies. Where is the money?
Yeah, people make
we
like
want to know.
$2,000.
Sometimes people leave Jeopardy. Yeah, exactly. With $2 grand.
That's crazy.
What is that?
Don't look at me.
Who's making the money?
Jeff, we need answers. Where's the money?
I wish I knew, man. Coming up on DBL, our interview with survivalist Bear Grylls. What's the craziest thing he's eaten out in the wild? Well, that's next.
Summer vacation season is in full swing, and as families head to the beach, you may have heard the old advice. If you get a cut walking on a shell, or maybe you just have a blister, go rinse it in the ocean. The salt water will clean the wound. So, does ocean water actually help to heal cuts and scrapes? Let's verify. Our sources are Dr. Allison Harvey, emergency medicine specialist with Prisma Health, and Brian Rabin, the manager of the Aquatic Sciences program with the Bureau of Water with the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Let's start with the water. During the peak summer months, scientists from DHEC study bacteria levels in the water off South Carolina's coastline.
One of the staff members goes out to one of these stations, and they actually go about knee deep into the water. So you get where children could be playing and starting to get their heads under the water. And so that's where we choose that depth for the collection.
And per EPA guidelines, if the sample comes back more than 104 colonies per 100 milliliters of water, DHEC issues a short-term advisory. Dr. Allison Harvey says one bacteria in the water called Vibrio can send people to the ER.
The most concerning one that I think a lot of people have probably heard of is Vibrio. What a lot of people don't realize is you can catch these same Vibrio bacteria in the ocean, and they're very common contaminants, particularly in the summer and in warmer waters.
So why all the confusion about salt water helping a wound?
It depends on if the salt water is sterile or in an ocean, because we use sterile salt water in the hospital all the time.
So we can verify, while sterile saline water is good for cleaning a cut, the ocean water is not. But Dr. Harvey says not to let that ruin your trip to the beach. If you do have an open cut, make sure it's fully covered. With your Verify.
Welcome back. Bear Grylls has done it all. He's swam in ice water, jumped out of helicopters, and has eaten some interesting things along the way. We chatted with him earlier about his new show with a star-studded lineup. Check it out.
Bear, you are so cool.
Yeah.
You really are. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about high-risk adventures since, of course, the Titan sub tragedy. When you climbed Mount Everest, did you see anyone that paid to be there that, in your opinion, shouldn't have been there?
Less so. You know, this was back in 1998. The mountain was pretty free of a lot of people. I mean, I think, you know, 5 or 6 people climbed it that season. We had 4 people lose their lives up there. Yikes. 2 died of the cold, wow. 2 fell, and 2 of us from our team reached the top. So it was a whole different kind of setup before a lot of the big commercial expeditions really started to ramp up. But, you know, it's in our DNA as humans to be pioneers and risk takers, and I think, you know, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You know, obviously at the extremes ends of that, where you got a lot of money involved and a lot of extreme adventure, extreme risks. It's always going to get a little foggy, maybe, that area. But I think in terms of how we live our lives and how, as parents, we try and encourage our kids to live, we should be saying, follow your dreams. Go for it. You know, life is full of risk. Become good at managing risk. And, you know, have a never give up spirit and all of that.
Your new show, Running Wild with Bear Grylls, The Challenge, features celebrities surviving the wild with you. So which guest impressed you the most with their outdoor skills?
Well, you know, I've been lucky to take some amazing people over the years, from, you know, I don't know, Julia Roberts to President Obama to Roger Federer to, you know, so many. And it's been, as I say, a huge privilege in my life to be able to introduce some of these adventure rookies to the outdoors and how the wild can build us all and give us a quiet confidence and a pride, give us the sort of things that money can't buy or fame doesn't always give people. So this season, we really feel we've had some incredible guests. We took Bradley Cooper, Benedict Cumberbatch, Rita Ora, Russell Brand. That was a fun one.
Wow.
So many great people. And, you know, these guys don't need the money or the fame. They want the experience. They want what the wild can give us, which is always linked to confidence and to pride and to a sense of I've faced some hard things and some fears and come through it. And And it's what I've always loved about the wild, you know, from a young age, climbing with my dad when I was a kid. The dynamic has stayed the same, and I think the friendships with the running wild guests is always the best part of the show for me.
Bear, I've been a fan for a long, long time, and I hope I reach celebrity status so one day I could be on your show. But thanks for being on ours. But real quickly, we're running out of time.
Such a nice thing to say. You're already there, my friend. You're amazing.
Oh,
Jeff.
Well, I think we're done here. No, let's squeeze in this last one. You've eaten things like eyeballs, insects, live snakes. You've drank your own urine, all these different things. If you had a Bear Grylls restaurant, what would you put on your menu? What would be your specialty of all the weird things you've eaten?
Well, first of all, I think it would be a disaster. Nobody would come. I've actually got a great friend who runs a restaurant. He said, Bear, I'm going to do a burger. We're going to do the Bear Grylls burger. And they put, you know, lots of like dried maggots and mealworms in it. And then about 2 months later, he said it was a disaster. You know, everyone wanted to see it, but nobody wanted to eat it. So I'm not sure the restaurant would be great, but I don't know. I do like the natural way of living and of eating, not just when I'm out in the wild, but back home as well. I think we've got a lot to learn from nature. So I am definitely a grass-fed red meat, liver, eggs, fruit, honey sort of person when I'm back home. And when I'm out there, you definitely have to get into survival mode and widen that net a bit and go for the bugs and the grubs and the scorpions and the snakes. But that's when I'm in survival mode.
Wow, you're the best, my man. You're the best. Thank you.
Bear, thank you so much for joining us today. DBL Nation, be sure to catch his new show, Running Wild with Bear Grylls, The Challenge, out July 9th on Nat Geo. Thanks again, Bear. Congratulations on all your success. We'll be right back. Thank you.
So kind. I appreciate it.
For decades, Americans have believed that using hot or warm water would ensure that their clothes came out of the washing machine clean. But recently, detergent companies have claimed that washing clothes in cold water is just as effective.
Tide is busting laundry's biggest myth. That cold water can't clean.
For years, climate activists have urged people to switch to cold water, saying it's better for the environment. Energy Star says heating water accounts for about 90% of the energy needed to run a washer. So, less hot water used, more energy saved. So let's verify. Is washing clothes in cold water just as effective as washing them in hot water? Our sources are Brian Sansoni from the American Cleaning Institute, General Electric, Consumer Reports, and the CDC. Brian Sansoni says advancements in technology for both detergents and washing machines mean cold water can not only get the job done as well as hot water, but cold water is actually better for your clothes in addition to the environment.
It certainly can lengthen the life of your fabrics and save energy.
Tests conducted by Consumer Reports that compare the efficacy of detergents at different temperatures confirm that you no longer have to use hot water to get clothes clean. And General Electric, a company that makes washing machines, says cold water can remove tough stains like grass and blood just as well as, if not better, than hot water.
Very simply put, cold water washing is good for your clothes, good for your wallet, and good for Mother Earth.
So we can verify, yes, washing clothes in cold water is just as effective as using hot water. If someone in your house is sick, our experts, including the CDC, suggest using hot water to ensure that germs don't spread. But for your practical everyday laundering, cold water does the trick. With your Verify and a lot of laundry to do, I'm Adiante Till.
Walk into your favorite store and you'll see a wall of choices to protect your skin from the sun. A Verify viewer texted us asking about the difference between spray-on and lotion sunscreens. So let's verify. Are spray-on sunscreens as effective as lotions? Our sources are Harvard Health and 2 board-certified dermatologists to explain it's all about how you apply sunscreen.
I think it's easier with a lotion to make sure that you're getting full coverage. With a spray, you may not be as careful. So that is a consideration with the spray.
Dr. Rajani Kanta also says despite the advertising, you can't simply spray and go.
I recommend that you spray and then you make sure that you rub it in so that you're not missing any of those, you're not missing any spots.
Harvard Health found when spraying, most people apply just a quarter of what they need. Researchers recommend spraying each area for up to 6 seconds.
You know that you have enough when your skin glistens. If it's not glistening, you gotta put more.
But Dr. Danilo Del Campo says that doesn't mean sprays, when used properly, are any less effective than lotions.
Between a lotion that has SPF 30 and a spray that's SPF 30, they are equivalent. However, the difference is how do we apply it and the method that we apply it.
So we can verify, yes, spray-on sunscreens are as effective as lotions. However, they may be more difficult to use correctly than lotions. The doctors also say parents may want to use lotions for their children because it's harder to spray a good coating when kids are squirming around. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. We've got some great products from our friends at Morning Save. Check them out.
Steph, what do you have for us today?
Hey Tori, hi DBL Nation. Get ready to be excited for all our goodies that we've got today. Look at this, how snazzy. We've got the Shark Apex Upright Duo Clean Lift Away Vacuum.
Yes.
The self-cleaning brush roll takes on floors and carpets. And with the attachments, you can go from cleaning down low to up high instantly.
Perfect.
Normally, it's $460.
Right, I mean, it's Shark, you know?
We've got it for $179.99. So that's saving 61%.
Oh my God, spring cleaning. Little late, but
talking
still
about
good.
spring cleaning, Tori, we've also got this, the True and Tidy Heavy Duty Steam Mop.
I need this.
So the wide surface mop head will deliver a really powerful chemical-free steam to clean your floors, and quickly and efficiently means no chemicals, no detergents, really, really good. So normally this is $104.
That's not that bad even.
We've got it for $39.99.
Okay, Stephanie.
So that's saving 62%. Now, this is something we've not seen before.
What is this?
It's the self-cleaning bidet attachment by Dude Product.
What?
Installation and use is super simple, you guys. This features adjustable pressure and a self-cleaning nozzle.
What?
So normally this is $111.
Yeah, those are expensive.
We've got it for $24.99.
Yes!
That's saving 77%.
I'm not gonna lie, Al Jackson, our co-host, swears by bidets. He's like, it changes your entire life.
Our last product today is the 5-pack Mercury Innovation Smart Wi-Fi LED light strip.
Oh, I like these.
With easy, damage-free installation, you can do this yourself. You can put them under your kitchen cabinets, around your bathroom mirrors, or on stairways. Your options are endless.
Nice.
So normally this is $100.
No.
And we have got a 5-pack for just $20. That's saving 80%.
Yes! Oh, I love that. All right, great products. Head on over to morningsave.com to snag these amazing deals at the lowest prices. Or you can even scan the QR code. It's right on screen. That will take you directly to these products on Morning Save's website. Steph, as always, thank you so much.
All right. In the break, we were just talking about relationships. They're fun, huh?
There's something.
I was complimenting you on your new podcast, Together Mess, and they have a promo out right now that made me LOL, like literally laugh out loud. Good job.
Thank you. Yeah, so me and my wife are coming out with a new podcast, but it's back to the old days of just the dumbest things we fight about, but the funniest things. I don't know.
Relatable.
Yeah, you guys are the best couple.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everybody.